Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In our previous episode, we discussed how the demon lords shared information and allocated tasks during Walpurgis to counter the potential threat posed by Michael's angel army and the formidable control ability of the Lord of Justice. Rimuru dispatched powerful subordinates from the Monster Federation, such as Carrera, Ultima, and Diablo, to assist other demon lords, establishing a collaborative strategy for the future. However, Leon, who possessed the ultimate skill Lord of Purity, did not appear to be the most vulnerable. In this episode, we will reveal Veldora's dangerous situation and delve into the secret discussions between Leon and the Sky Emperor Elmesia. More interestingly, after betraying Rimuru's side, Dino was once again successfully flipped by Rimuru to become a double agent, which can be described as a second betrayal following his initial betrayal. Let's get started. After Walpurgis concluded, the demon lords did not immediately depart. They seized the opportunity to engage in further discussions, given the unprecedented strength of their adversary. Tigruel struck up a conversation with Rimuru, noting that although Rimuru had replaced Primordial Yellow Carrera with Primordial Purple Ultima as a support delegate, he still found primordial demons difficult to deal with and requested that Veldora be assigned to him instead. After all, Tigruel and Veldora have been friends for a very long time. However, Rimuru outright refused, explaining that Veldora was not his subordinate but his friend. Rimuru could not decide for Veldora without his consent, unless Veldora himself wished to support Tigruel. Rimuru then turned to look at Veldora, who became excited at the prospect of being needed. Veldora put on an exaggerated expression of enthusiasm and chuckled, claiming he would love to help Tigruel, but he was too busy, as Ramorous Labyrinth still required his protection. Rimuru sighed internally, fully aware that Veldora was just looking for an excuse to laze around, but making it sound as though he was merely continuing his usual duties. Meanwhile, Ramorous, who actually believed Veldora's words, gazed at him with tearful eyes, moved by his supposed dedication. Thus, Tigruel had no choice but to accept the situation. He sighed, indicating that if Velzard were to attack, it would pose a significant problem for him, and he would feel much more secure with Veldora at his side. Veldora, invigorated again, burst into a boisterous laugh, his vanity peaking as he proclaimed that with him around, even facing his elder sister would not intimidate him. Rimuru, standing beside him, grew increasingly exasperated with this foolish and dense dragon, feeling utterly helpless. Ignoring the enthusiastically performing Veldora, Guy suddenly posed a question to Rimuru that seemed to have just occurred to him, expressing curiosity about Michael's exact plan for resurrecting the Star King dragon Veldanava. Rimuru had also pondered this question. From conversations with Michael and his cohort, it was apparent that their goal was to gather the dragon factors of the three true dragons, Velzard, Veldrind and Veldora, believing this would suffice to resurrect Veldanava. However, Rimuru found this method peculiar. As the fifth true dragon, he too possessed dragon factors secretly. If the goal was merely to collect the dragon factors from the other three true dragons, it would make no sense that the most crucial dragon factors from Veldanava couldn't be collected. Moreover, Rimuru speculated that the collection might involve all of the ultimate skills originally possessed by Veldanava, the seven virtues. This speculation wasn't unfounded. Michael's Lord of Justice could utilize the skills of those he dominated, hence his continuous use of Veldgrind's Lord of Charity. However, it was peculiar that during the final battle aboard the airship, despite already possessing Lord of Charity, Michael deliberately used Yuki Kagarazaka's steel life to seize Veldgrind's Lord of Charity again. The redundancy of reacquiring an already possessed skill was indeed strange. Yet, if that was the method, it contained a critical flaw. Among the seven virtues, Rimuru's Lord of Wisdom and Lord of Oath had been integrated by seal into other skills, rendering any effort to gather them were futile. Even if a resurrection was possible, using all the original ultimate skills without Veldanava's dragon factors would merely create a facsimile of Veldanava, not the true original. Taking another step back, although true dragons were immortal, resurrection after death often resulted in the loss of some aspects of personality and memory. For example, Frost Dragon Velzard's method of educating Storm Dragon Veldora involved killing him to reset his personality before re-educating him. While this approach was effective, could the resurrected Storm Dragon still be considered the same Storm Dragon? Similarly, would a resurrected Star King Dragon who had lost his memories and personality truly still be the Star King Dragon? At that moment, Guy provided an answer to Rimuru's final doubt, suggesting that this was a matter of perception. For species with infinite lifespans, the scenario described by Rimuru constitutes the same entity since the soul remains continuous. Ignoring a confused Rimuru, Luminous, as if having understood everything, dropped a significant revelation, suggesting that if this was the case, then the enemy's true target must be Veldora, the stupid evil dragon. Upon hearing this, everyone in the vast hall froze, the only sound being Veldora's naive astonishment. If the previous conclusions were correct, then the likelihood that the last true dragon, Veldora, was the prime target was the highest. This meant that preventing Veldora from falling into enemy hands again was imperative, along with protecting Leon, putting the demon lords decidedly on the defensive. After a careful discussion, Rimuru once again took on the task of guarding Veldora. Thus, the final plans were established, and thereafter, everyone departed from Guy's castle. The focus shifted to Leon, who, after the conclusion of Walpurgis, did not head straight back to his territory, El Dorado, but instead took a detour to the sorcerer's dynasty Sarion. Seeing Leon's troubled expression, the benevolent Sky Emperor Elmesia inquired about his worries. Elmesia Sarion, with her stunning beauty, emerald eyes, and dewy skin, epitomized the true essence of a high elf. Leon disclosed that the situation was urgent, with Guy expected to visit his nation, and he promptly moved on to the main issue. Elmesia patiently expressed her concern, eager to understand exactly what had transpired. The fact that Leon could speak directly with the Sky Emperor, and dive right into serious matters without any pleasantries or consideration for Elmesia's disposition, clearly reflected the unique nature of his relationship with her. Tracing back the origins of their connection, it began long before Leon became a demon lord or even a hero. In those days, while searching for the missing Chloe, Leon wandered across the world. During this period, he encountered Elmesia's mother, Sylvia Elru. Sylvia was a formidable figure, not only highly skilled in swordsmanship and magic but also extraordinarily wise. She was a brilliant scientist who laid down the foundational theories of magic technology, and was also one of the prized creations of the divine ancestor Twilight Valentine. Her strength was immense, and had she been present, there would be a chance that Elmesia's father might have survived during his fight with Malim's pet Chaos Dragon. Unfortunately, at that time, Sylvia, pregnant with Elmesia, was unable to prevent the tragedy. Later, Sylvia became Leon's mentor, imparting her sword techniques and magical knowledge to him. It was through this mentorship that Leon and Elmesia developed a familial bond. After gaining Elmesia's permission, Leon exchanged information with her. Elmesia had also conducted her own covert investigations, which included the sensational arrival of the 3 primordial demon beauties and the shady behavior of Yuki Kagarazaka. However, she was not well informed about the more recent events and intricacies, such as Rimuru's battles with the 2 true dragons, Veldora and Velgrind, as well as Michael's plans. Therefore, she was particularly astonished by Leon's report, yet she also understood that Leon had no reason to deceive her. Leon nodded, acknowledging that he had heard this information directly from Rimuru himself. Although highly credible, it was not necessarily the whole truth. Elmesia laughed, noting that Leon seemed to trust Demon Lord Rimuru more than she had expected. Leon assessed calmly that although Rimuru could be cunning, he was not the type to exaggerate for the sake of vanity. Rather, Rimuru's nature was to downplay many significant issues to prevent others from speculating about his circumstances. Elmesia nodded in agreement on this point. She and Leon were aligned in their understanding that Rimuru tended to understate his achievements. For instance, when he subdued the primordial demons, he behaved nonchalantly in front of Elmesia, unwilling to divulge more details than necessary. When Rimuru triumphed over the powerful Eastern Empire, he merely mentioned in passing to Elmesia that he had one, which, due to its seemingly absurd simplicity, made Elmesia all the more certain of its veracity. Leon then directly voiced his request, expressing his desire to establish contact with his mentor, Sylvia. Upon hearing this, Elmesia fell into thought. Leon's reason for wanting to meet Sylvia was straightforward. Possessing the ultimate skill Lord of Purity, Leon would be controlled upon encountering individuals like Michael. Therefore, Leon sought to devise countermeasures before such an event could occur, but alas, his own abilities were insufficient for such a task. Hence, he sought the wisdom of the highest intellect in Sarion. However, Sylvia, while being the most formidable force in Sarion, was also a free spirit. She could hide herself such that even a collective search by everyone would not guarantee her location. Elmesia explained that finding her mother would be difficult at the moment unless utilizing the annual public appearance, or some secretive measures. Seeing Leon's slightly disappointed expression, Elmesia sighed. To her, Leon was like a dear younger brother, and it was challenging to deny his request. Thus, Elmesia committed to do her utmost to assist, but she cautioned that in the worst-case scenario, it might take about half a year. Leon nodded in understanding and then stood up to leave Sarion. Elmesia, honoring her promise, began the search for her mother. In fact, Elmesia and Sylvia shared the exact same appearance. For many years, the two alternated playing the role of Sky Emperor to ensure each could enjoy some freedom. Now, with the world changing dramatically, and with the most powerful demon Lord Guy leaving his domain to protect Leon, it was an unprecedented situation. Elmesia was confident in her decision, although she was sure to face complaints from Sylvia about the encroachment on her free time. Living for so long, this was the first time Elmesia encountered such a thorny situation. After another 5 months of peace, there were no signs of action from Michael and Felway, though the specifics of the enemy's movements remained elusive, allowing Rimuru's side a brief period to prepare. However, the reason Rimuru and his companions could enjoy such a relaxed lifestyle was also due to a significant event that occurred during this time. Rimuru had managed to establish contact with Dino. During the previous battle in the labyrinth, Zijin had branded Dino's body, creating a contractual link between them that prevented Dino from acting against Zijin's will. When Seal informed Rimuru of this development, it sparked an idea in Rimuru. He asked Seal if it was possible to use this brand to contact Dino. However, upon further reflection, Rimuru thought this might be difficult since it wasn't his own skill. As Rimuru was pondering this, Seal straightforwardly declared it to be very simple, leaving Rimuru stunned. Following this revelation, Rimuru decided to reach out to Dino, or rather, to exploit him in reverse. For Rimuru, having Dino as an adversary was far more advantageous than having him as an ally. After all, while Dino occasionally performed odd jobs, he mostly freeloaded and slept. There's a saying, fear not the godlike opponents but the pig-like teammates. As long as Dino remained within the enemy's ranks, he could inadvertently contribute to Rimuru's cause. Moreover, although Michael had controlled Dino, he had not taken away his consciousness. If Rimuru could persuade Dino, he could serve as a spy within the enemy's camp, achieving a dual purpose. Without hesitation, Rimuru initiated a conversation directly into Dino's mind, sending his greetings. The perspective shifted to Dino, who, believing himself to be in a safe location, was startled by Rimuru's sudden contact. Clearly flustered, Dino panicked as if a child who had erred, anxiously awaiting a parent's reprimand. As Dino stuttered in response to Rimuru, he lifted his head to scan his surroundings, confirming that the voice was only in his mind, which allowed him to sigh in relief. Nervously, Dino claimed he was very busy indeed and inquired about Rimuru's reason for contacting him. Hearing Dino's anxious anticipations, Rimuru decided to tease him by bluntly stating that Dino had instigated a conflict with him. Completely panicked, Dino argued that it was an exaggeration and hardly qualified as a dispute. While Rimuru chuckled covertly, he sternly told Dino he wouldn't accept any excuses, pointing out that Dino had not only brought intruders into the labyrinth causing chaos but had also attempted to kidnap Ramirez. Dino lamented his helplessness, claiming he was just following orders and truly had no choice. Rimuru dismissed the excuses while Dino continuously apologized. Rimuru fully understood none of these actions were genuinely Dino's own will, but forcing an apology still offered him a slight sense of satisfaction. Seizing the moment of Dino's guilt, Rimuru revealed his intent, stating that while Dino's actions were theoretically unforgivable, he would be willing to overlook them if Dino sincerely reflected on his misdeeds. Overjoyed by the prospect of forgiveness, Dino admitted that while self-reflection might ease his conscience, he knew that mere apologies or reflections wouldn't fully resolve the situation. Rimuru chose this moment to clarify that Dino had simply been under the manipulation of Michael's Lord of Justice. Upon hearing Rimuru's words, Dino was momentarily stunned. His reaction clearly indicated that he had been completely unaware of being under control. Seizing the moment, Rimuru explained Michael's powers to Dino and confirmed that Dino possessed another angelic ultimate skill, Lord of Heaven. Realizing the true situation, Dino naturally wanted to break free from control. After hearing Rimuru's explanation, Dino asked again if possessing a demonic ultimate skill might enable him to escape Michael's influence, suggesting that he might try it himself. Rimuru quickly dissuaded Dino from this idea, indicating that Dino did not need to force himself. More than these attempts, Rimuru preferred that Dino maintain his current status to avoid actions that might arouse Michael's suspicion. Hearing this, Dino was relieved to learn that he did not need to do anything, which made him quite happy. However, Rimuru was not so gentle in his approach. Although he spoke with a tone of consideration for Dino, suggesting that betraying Feldway would be distressing for Dino himself, internally, Rimuru was filled with the intention to have Dino work for him without overtly betraying Feldway. However, before Rimuru could proceed further, Dino already caved, indicating that although he had no intentions of betrayal, he was completely willing to pass on information. Rimuru politely insisted that Dino really didn't need to do anything, but Dino persisted, stating that he wanted to convey information to express his remorse and sincerity. Rimuru then explained that by simply not participating in combat, Dino would effectively weaken Michael's combat forces. Dino had an epiphany but also mentioned that he was still ready to pass on information anytime, and would contact Rimuru if anything concerning came up. Unwittingly, Dino thus became an informant for Rimuru's side. Following this, Rimuru began to extract information about Michael from Dino, and the most critical piece was that after absorbing the dragon factors of 2 true dragons, Michael was still in a recovery phase, needing more time to fully prepare for war. This was why Rimuru and his allies could still afford to live leisurely for the time being. Of course, Dino's words could potentially be lies, but dodging Zijin's imprint to lie would require immense caution and energy, which for Dino, known as the epitome of laziness, was undoubtedly impossible. Hence, Rimuru concluded that it was best to maintain a natural demeanor, much like the approach he adopted when he first heard about the Angel's impending attack. Rimuru was the type to put off till tomorrow what could be done today, akin to how he handles summer homework in previous life when he was young. Initially, Rimuru would earnestly complete a portion of it, then leave the rest for the last day. And if it wasn't finished, he would straightforwardly tell the teacher he forgot to bring it, which, although it would earn him a scolding, at least bought him time to finish the work. And if he couldn't complete it the next day either? That's when the "my homework got lost" excuse would come into play. In essence, Rimuru was someone who, while striving to complete tasks, also believed in letting things take their natural course when forced efforts seemed futile. However, at this point, Seal expressed dissatisfaction, suggesting that one should always strive as she does. Rimuru retorted, highlighting that human energy was limited. The key was to be prepared for reprimands, as that readiness could pave the way to resolve subsequent issues. Thus, maintaining the right mindset was most crucial. Even Seal agreed that Michael was unlikely to be fully aware of Dino's thoughts, which led Rimuru to cautiously believe in part of the information Dino provided. During these 5 months of inactivity from Michael, Rimuru and his associates began traveling around the world, making preparations for the impending final battle. Alright, that's all for this video. The next episode promises to be an interesting one, where we will see the clueless Luminous inviting Xion to cook together. Gabiru, who was once mistaken for Veldora, will once again be mistaken for Rimuru. And the problematic duo Diablo and Rain, who would give the strongest demon lord Gi such a headache and make he feel powerless. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.